1 week away from the playoffs of the basically ending of the entire things. Certain teams are still in the hunt right now, and other teams are in, and a few teams that need to win this week, and other teams to actually lose. This is Sports Hour. All right, week 16 is upon us. There's going to be one more video on for the Sports Hour this year. Well, prior to the playoffs, there will be some more videos going on to the playoffs. But week 16 is an important week because there are still certain teams that can make the playoffs, but it requires so many specific things to occur. Here. In fact, there's a lot of things that have to happen this week. Starting off, we look at the NBL North. There is the NBL just generally. These teams are all insured into the playoffs, but then there's 8 open slots in the playoffs for each one of them, which means any of these teams can get into the playoffs. The Packers, sorry, not the Packers. That's not the Packers. The Pirates need a win, and they are in. If they win, they are going to be into the playoffs. It doesn't matter what else happens. If they lose, then they're probably still in the playoffs as well. The only thing that would have to happen if they have to lose, and both the Giants and Cardinals would have to win for them to be in. That is because the Cardinals beat the Giants earlier this year, and of course the Pirates also have done well against them as well. So both those teams, basically it comes down this way: for the Pirates to be eliminated from the playoffs, they have to lose, and both of these teams would have to win for them to get eliminated from the playoffs. That is the only way the Pirates can get eliminated, and it's going to be very, very tough for them to get eliminated. As for the Giants, it's tough for the Giants to get eliminated as well. They would have to have both. They have to lose, and both the Cardinals and Pirates would have to win in order for them to get eliminated. Now, for the Cardinals to get into the playoffs, this is a tough position. Both these teams have to lose, and they have to win. That's the only way they can get into the playoffs. So there's a lot of things that have to occur right now for them to make the playoffs. Because if the Pirates go to lose, that'll put them at 8-8. That'll put the Giants, assuming the Giants they lose as well, go 7-8-1. And that would put themselves at 8-8, which would put the Giants out of the playoffs. Only though, that only works if the Cardinals win and the Pirates win, and the Giants lose. Now, in the other scenario, if the Pirates win and the Giants win, put themselves at 8-1, and the Cardinals lose, nothing changes in that position. Because, well, that doesn't make a difference. Because they'll both be at the same record. That will put them at 7-8-1, which is better than 7-9. So that puts them in a position that they make playoffs for that. However, let's say the Pirates. Let's say, is there a way the Pirates can get eliminated? Well, Pirates lose, and they lose. Put this back to this is the only way that the Cardinals can get in the playoffs. They have to win. So basically, it comes to this: in order for the Cardinals to make it to the playoffs, they have to win. And then, in order for the Pirates to get eliminated from the playoffs, they have to lose, and the Giants would have to win. Switches. Because in that case, it would become down to the point that the Giants would be ahead. Let's just see how it would happen if the Giants and the Giants. And see, the Giants and Pirates have not played, but the Cardinals did play against them. So it's going to be very tough for the Pirates to not make it to the playoffs. Basically, if they win, they're in. If they lose, then they're still going to have a hard time missing the playoffs. It would require both these teams to lose in order for them not to make the playoffs. Win. So it's still going to be very tough because 8-1 is better. And if you look at the Pirates, I don't see any way actually. Now, actually, I don't think there's no way it's possible for them to be eliminated from the not make them into the playoffs. But their seeds are different, therefore they're not clinched. So there's some way they could actually get eliminated. It requires the Pirates to lose and both these teams to win. But there is actually one way. If the Pirates tie, Cardinals win, and Giants win, then the record would go like this: 8-7-1. Let's put these into. One, and then the Giants and Cardinals both win, then unfortunately the Cardinals would be eliminated. So unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult for the Cardinals to make it into the playoffs. Cardinals would have to win, and the Giants and Pirates would both have to lose in order for them to make it into the playoffs. That's what's going to happen on that side of the field. On the other side, it's a little bit easier on this side here. It's not as difficult. Looking at the playoffs right now, the Superman and Lynx can both make it in. It's going to be tough for them to make it in, though. Because so right now, all these teams can make it into the playoffs. Basically, here they've got to win, plus they have to win, and then they would have to win 9. Losses of 8 and 9. So it will be super tough for them to make in. So they have to have 8 and 9. 8 or 9 have to. So basically 3 of these teams would have to lose. So it would be very. So basically what would have to happen here is that in order for the Lynx to make it in, they have to win. And 2 of these teams would have to lose to make it into the playoffs. And bad news is none of these teams play each other, so it would be very difficult for them to make it into that position. For the Supermen to win in, they just have to win. They don't have to have anybody. They have to win. Plus a 7-rate loss. So they have to have one of these 2 teams lose. So there's a lot of things. So it would require a lot of things to occur here. Because they have to have 7 lose. The Tex would have to lose in order for them to be able to make it into the playoffs. And then a loss from either the 8th seed or the current 9th seed. That's the current. I'm going to go ahead and move this a little bit. So that's a lot of things that have to happen. The 8th in, to get into the playoffs, they just have to win. That's really all they have to do to get into the playoffs. The same thing here. Win. So it's easier for these 2 teams to win. Because here's the thing, though. If the Tex or Athens lose, then the Supermen and the Lynx have a chance. And we'll look at these schedules later. It's difficult to say what will happen in this one. Win plus so it's gonna be kind of tough for these teams to make it into the playoffs. These two only have to win in order to make it into the playoffs. These have a little bit of a problem. They have to have a lot of stuff happen for them to get in. So this is going to be a very tough matchup for them to even go through it. So right now, it appears to me that this is what I would say. I think likelihood is that the Ethan will make it in. The Superman will make it in. I don't think the Techs are going to make it. I think the Techs are going to lose and be eliminated from the playoffs. And just because they lose, just because they lose does not mean they're going to be out of the playoffs. Because everything else has to occur as well. But if the Supermen make it in, they have to win, and they have to have either a 7 or 8 loss. And then we have the Lynx they have to win, and they have to have both 8 and 9 lose to make it to the playoffs. They unfortunately cannot make it be better than the Techs, so they have to win plus a bunch of losses. So this is going to be a very tough matchup for them. Let's take a look at the next week's stats here, because this is going to be an interesting week. We got the Beagles and the Chargers to start off. And then they have the Chargers predicted. I do think the Chargers are going to win this game. I think it's going to be a very close matchup, though, rather than the actual 24-point difference. Stars and Superman, that's the problem. Supermen are going to win this game. There's just no way the Supermen... Yes, Stars are just not good. They're going to be undefeated, or completely defeated, going into this next week. And looking at the division here, all the Supermen have to do is win and have one of these two teams lose. So it's going to be. I think it's likely that one of the teams is going to lose here. We'll see. The Otters and Dogs play, and unfortunately, Otters are in a very high position to win this game. Unfortunately, I just don't know if they have enough to win this game. I'm going to give the Dogs the benefit of the doubt here and win this one, but I think it's going to be a very close matchup. Lynx and the Packers. Here's what has to happen. The Lynx must beat the Packers. And this is a tough one for me to say the Lynx are going to be able to come up and win this one. I'm going to say the Packers win this one and put it up at 12-5, and that would be useful because if the Otters do lose, then the Packers will get the division. If, however, the Otters win and the Packers win or lose, actually what happens is if the Packers win, if the Otters win, no matter what happens, the Otters get the division if the Otters do win. Take a look at Tigers and Dragons. Terribly, we're going to have the Tigers win this one. With the Browns and Bobcats, I think the Browns are going to have a slightly better chance of winning this game, so we're going to go with Browns. We have the Dolphins and Tex. I do not think the Dolphins are going to be super great for this one, but I think the Dolphins are going to win this one. I think they're going to knock down the Tex. Tex are probably still going to make it into the playoffs. Looking at the stats for that, they just have to win. Let's say they do lose. What would have to do to get out? They have to have two of these three teams win. To actually rephrase that, it's very difficult for it. All three of these teams would have to win for them to get knocked out of the playoffs, because that would put them at 8-6-1. They would have lost. They've been 9-6-1. So all these guys would all be tied, and because they would be 9-7, actually, I don't even know if it's possible. Is it possible? With a 9, if they go to 9-7, these guys go to 9-9. That's 9-6-1, 9-6-1. They'll be all tied. No, actually, the Tex are in. Tex have clinched. They're not clinched in the position though, so I think right now they are in for sure. There's some scenario I think they might actually get eliminated though, because there's still a possibility. What would have to happen is the Athens and the Super would both have to win. And we do look at the Tex. Let's see what we have for the Tex here. Let's see, we've got the Athens. Okay, they did not play, so that won't make it. That won't do anything for them. Let's see, Superman. They definitely would have. They didn't play with Superman either. So the question is did they beat? Did the Lynx beat them? And no, none of these teams played them. So that's a bad thing. I don't think there's a way that can even happen. So I think the Tex are actually clinched. They're going to confirm that. I think there's a scenario where so there is a possibility. Both these teams would have to, all three of these teams would have to win in order for them to get knocked out of the playoffs. I think. Two of these teams could win, they could win to the playoffs if if the Lynx lose and the Athens and Superman both win and the Tex lose, then I think there's a possibility they can get knocked out of the playoffs. But back onto the track here. We got the Hawk Giants and Lightning. Giants win this one. The Giants are too good. Saints and Angels. This is a tough one. I'm going the Saints to win here. I think it's a fair chance to go for that one. Cardinals and Knights. This is where we have to say, we're going to go for the Jets first. Goodness to say, it's going to be the Jets that win that one. Cardinals and Knights. I would love to see the Cardinals win because they can. If they do win, if we go back to the division here, if the Cardinals have to win, and both these teams would have to lose, I just don't think it's going to happen. Unfortunately, I'm going to say that this is going to be a loss, so they'll be out of the playoffs anyways. Ravens and Foxes, both are pretty close to the matchup. I'd say it's going to be the Ravens to win this game. But I'm going to shock and say I'm going to go with the Foxes here. The Ravens just have not done well recently. UNC and the Colts, which is not the game of the week. They're going to confirm what the game of the week is for me, right? I'm going to go with UNC winning this week. I think the Colts are going to have a little bit of a struggle. They've struggled over the last couple of weeks. I think UNC has done really well. Pirates, I'm actually going to give the Pirates the win here, which is going to be bad for the Cardinals anyways. Knights Indians, we got the Indians winning that one. No surprises there. Bulldogs and Falcons, this is a tough one. No, it's going to be the Bulldogs win this one. It's going to be a very close game, though, in the end. Leland Cats and Athens. This is important. The Leland Cats and Athens would have to play, and we're going to say the Cats win that one, which is important for the other teams because, you know, if it is the Athens that do lose here, the Athens are in the playoffs right now, but they're on the line here. If the Athens do lose, they could get eliminated from the playoff. They could literally get eliminated if both these teams win. And the Techs also lose as well. So it's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be a very close game, tough game. We got the Huskies winning over the Lightning. I just don't think it's fair to say anything else. I'm going to give the Lions a win over the Warriors. And the Panthers, I want to give the Legends the win here, but I got to give the Panthers the win that one. Panthers are going to do pretty well for this one. What does this mean? Is that if I predict it's exactly the way, because there's only really 3 games that matter. The Cardinals and Knights. If I predict this correctly, and the Knights do end up in it, this will knock the Cardinals out of playoffs. They're already not in the playoffs. So the Cardinals would have to win this game. They probably aren't going to, unfortunately. And sadly, that will knock them out of playoff potential. Looking at this other game here, let's see. We have the Pirates winning this week would give them in the position. Same thing I think occurs with the Giants. Let's see, the Giants play here. I think the Giants win. See, I think the Cardinals are going to lose this game. Although it'll be a much closer game, pretty close game, but it's not going to be good enough because I think both of these teams, because both the teams they're playing are going to be hard to beat. I think it's going to be, unfortunately, the Cardinals are going to be out or are not going to make the playoffs. And I did predict, I think, before the Cardinals were going to be last. They're not going to be last. The Legends are going to be last, but they're not going to make it into the playoffs. On the other side here, let's take a look here at the other side. A lot of stuff has to happen. Let's take a look at Week 16 here. These are things that have to happen. So let's see what would have to happen. First off, we have the Techs. I think it's a theoretical possible. I did pick the Dolphins to win this game. I think it's possible the Techs do lose this game. They haven't done well over the last couple weeks, so I'm going to say the Techs do win that one. I think it's going to be a Tex. And right now, let's look at the division here. This is 7, 8, 9, and 10. This will put the Tex down to 8, 6, and 1. Looking at the Athens, I think the Athens do lose. I don't think there's a chance they win this one. So that will put them, these guys at 9, 6, and 1. That will put them at 8, 7, and 1. Superman, though, I think the Superman do win this week, right? Because Superman playing the Stars. There's no way he's losing that one. That puts them at 9, 7, and 1. Lynx would have to win, and unfortunately, I don't think they're going to. Oh, I think that's because that game could go either way. So, in theory, they're going to go 8 and 8 at the end of the season. To end the season. And with this, if this was true, this would be these two teams to make the playoffs. if that's true. But let's say that the Athens do win. Lynx do win their game. Oh, wait. And I say Superman win their game. That will actually make it so these guys make the playoffs. And unfortunately, these guys will play the playoffs. So, sorry guys, even though you guys have a 7-1, the only way this will work is if the Supermen also have to lose. Which would put them in these two teams in the playoffs. So it would have to be the Lynx and these two teams would have to lose in order for them to advance. So actually, in this case, in order for the Lynx to get in the playoffs, the Techs have to make it to the playoffs. At the current standpoint, this is what's currently happening. What the current record is, Lynx have to win for one thing. That's the first thing that has to occur. And it would require both these teams losing, and it actually does not matter what happens with the Techs. If the Techs win, great. If the Techs lose, they make the playoffs, and these two teams make the playoffs. So the Lynx and Techs would make the playoffs. If, let's say, the Techs win, they go 10-5-1, which makes them playoffs anyways. Yes. So it is possible for the Lynx to make the playoffs, but it's going to be very tough. It's going to require both teams in 8th and 9th positions losing, and that's the only way that they can make the playoffs. Okay. So it's going to require a lot of stuff to occur. It actually doesn't matter. So this is what has to happen. Yeah. So that all has to happen. This is going to be a very tough week for these two teams, and unfortunately, it's going to be very interesting. Lynx can make the playoffs still, and Lynx, remember, Lynx are the team that won the playoffs, won the bubble last year. Now let's talk about what happens with the world playoffs. Okay, so let me go to the playoff vision here. So this is what has to happen. Okay, so this is what goes on. This is the playoffs. We obviously only know one team, and Huskies will get to choose the place they have. In order to make in, they have to be in the top 16 teams. Indians, by the way, have already clinched. So right now the Pirates are what happened to the Colts? Okay. We have a team that's went wrong here. Who's in 16th position? I'll figure that out later. But basically, they have to be in the top 16, or they have to be in the top 2, period. So right now, it's going to be these two teams are in for sure. These teams are all going to be in at this point. I don't know who for sure is in the position. I think it might be the Knights. No, not Knights. I'll figure that out. Else. But that's going to be it for Sports Hour. Clearly, one of these teams is missing. I will figure that out. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next week for the last week. For the next interesting video. To see what happens and who makes the playoffs next week. See you in the next video.